Giru Lore Public Access Chapter 1 Primary Component IJTF-Marines brackets IJTF-M and brackets IDE-Informational Description Entry at the end of a major informational points, with the exception of this one, gives information on lore points and explains positions on different factions and appropriations. IJDF-M, International Joint Task Force Marines, main unit of Giru, Giru. USIC, USIC, United States International Corps, a long lost branch of the U.S. military. Many are unaware of its existence. GDF, Global Defense Force, a unit consisting of Russians and the USIC. DSDU, Director Security Dispatch Unit, one of USIC's most elite units, gets direct orders from the top of its command chain. Parentheses, Delta, DevGru, Rangers, CIA, and SAS were, unless recruited from there, unaware of its existence and would have had no power to stop it if they tried. AGAF, Angelian Group Army Forces, or Angelian Ground Army Forces. State of Angelia Army Forces, backbone of the Giru. AMC, Angelian Marine Corps. State of Angelia's very own Marines. Maybe the best there is. Angelia, country in Europe, closest allies with the US and home turf for both Giru and USIC. Chapter 1 USIC burned itself to the ground. Overseers corrupted from the remaining underground GDF agents. They turned their guns on each other. The director, not having any control, acted the only personal protection protocol. With no DSDU left alive, the only choice was the long-forgotten implants in all of USIC personnel's necks. There was no directed, this guy survives, this one dies situation. Every member of USIC would die, and the director ensured that everyone, even himself, was implanted. From grunts to director, one push of a button would kill all. The director was the one to press that button. There was no major flag burn, no long-lasted civil war, just chaos and the silence that followed. Civil agents, however, were spared, like the HR department. These fellows would go on to found Giru, Global Immediate Response Unit, an international joint task force of NATO countries' contributions of Marines, primarily of the addition of AGAF and AMC, United States and United Kingdom and Philippines, unionized under the M81 Woodland BDU. Giru did not have any ties or authority in non-military organizations like governments. They were strictly a reaction force for anything unfriendly. What wasn't clear was that a virus would make billions of civilians unfriendly. Zombified, you could say. What was unsettling is how it started. Along with Giru, from the ashes of USIC rose BB-00, the black blood parasite. The same parasite implanted in each USIC member. What wasn't clear was that this parasite would gain control of its host. 3 months after the dissolution of USIC, BB-00 was discovered, and it was extremely volatile. Firebase Phoenix was swarmed with extremely lethal shadow claws, zombies for the common folk, which had become entirely black, and their bones and their hands thickened and grown to disgusting lengths. First contact from Giru's CCF, Contagious Control Force, showed that personnel of higher trained class would be necessary before Giru could proceed further. Task Force P1, Protocol 1, would be utilized in the second raid, and results showed to be much more effective. While P1 could not advance further in the compound, they managed to relatively clear the courtyard and bring samples of the infected back to start research for a cure. However, what was not expected was the rapidity of infection from the corpses and blood samples. CCF quickly shut down any research attempted on BB-00, but not before losing an entire research facility, and this was only the beginning. What was a relatively contained disease became a wildly uncontrollable outbreak. only stopping when it reached the shorelines of the continents or the ice in northern Canada. Unlike with how Usyk was easily dealing with controlling the infected outbreak from spreading in New York, Giru, along with every country in the Americas and NATO support, was unable to contain this outbreak. Not only was it highly contagious, but it too was extremely unstable, volatile, and violent. Those infected underwent extreme and painful mutations. In under 2 weeks, almost all of the US had fallen, and by the end of 3 months, the rest of the Americas were gone, leaving only a few million survivors throughout all the continents. Containment was near impossible from the following. Mutations brought infected the ability to naturally climb any surface. Infected were able to jump 10 feet in a direct vertical jump. Regular infected were able to run up to speeds of 40 miles per hour, with the slower running around 15 to 20 miles per hour. What was BB-00? How did it work? Why was it so contagious? BB-00, the black blood parasite, at the time referred to as virus instead of parasite, is a parasitic worm that starts in the liver, poisoning its host, giving liver failure. But rather than feed off the host directly, it feeds the host to keep it alive and works its way to the nervous system, keeping the host from dying, though they will bring decomposition process before mutating, giving room to swell or shrink flesh as necessary and extend the bones of the host at a rapid rate. Normally, the host is still conscious but lacks having functions outside of sight and thought. The parasite, feeding off the brain's process, uses the host's mind to increase effectivity in infecting. One of the reasons the initial outbreak was so effective, as the parasites were carrying the knowledge of Usyk members and their capabilities, bringing it over to the researchers.